Many breaking news are coming in as we come on the air. Hi and very warm welcome at Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Following news headlines have been reported by world major English news channels and news agencies. So please watch it.
Tonight, as we come on the air in the West, we have breaking news here. The dramatic images moments ago, Elon Musk's SpaceX and the test flight of its Starship rocket losing contact and the rocket breaking up minutes into the test flight, and you'll see it. Also, President Trump's tariff whiplash now saying there will be a temporary pause after the Dow dropped another 400 points today, and the dangerous winds moving in tonight. The breaking images coming in now, that test flight of the Starship rocket, mission control losing contact minutes into the test flight. Then the rocket seen breaking into pieces, no one on board. But what happened here? Also tonight, on again, off again this evening, what President Trump is now saying about his 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico after wild swings in the stock market this week, dropping more than 400 points today alone. The plunge even after the president said he would do a temporary pause, but that the tariffs are coming. Also tonight, the dangerous winds. There are high wind alerts as we come on the air. Georgia up through New York and right into New England. Lee Goldberg standing by with the forecast. Tonight, for the first time, we hear from Pope Francis tonight. The Pope recording his first public message played in St. Peter's Square. You will hear it, his voice tonight, and why people who had gathered in the square were so moved. Back in the U.S., the deadly crash of that medical jet in Philadelphia, in the air for only a minute. 7 people killed, including an 11-year-old girl. Whit Johnson tonight and what we've now learned about that plane. There is news breaking as we come on tonight in the Idaho College murders case. The text messages now, newly released, the survivors desperately trying to reach the victims, and the 911 call from the home. Tonight's a stunning military accident. 2 fighter jets mistakenly bombing a village during a military training exercise. Back home tonight, Dolly Parton's heartfelt message this evening to family, friends, and so many fans across this country. What she's saying now about her late husband, Carl Dean, and about the outpouring of support. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is...
President Trump is not just getting results here at home, but abroad as well. Now, when he paused military aid to Ukraine, of course, the usual suspects went crazy, but now Europe is finally opening up its checkbook.
I present today to the leaders the Rearm Europe Plan. The Rearm Europe Plan provides up to 800 billion euros for defense investment. It gives the member states possibility to invest in the Ukrainian defense industry or to procure military capabilities that go right away to Ukraine.
What took you so long? Got a big GDP, all of you combined, come on. Now, meanwhile, as Trump pushes for peace, French President Emmanuel Macron is set on keeping this war going, no matter how many hundreds of thousands have been slaughtered. He suggested that France could extend its nuclear umbrella to shield its allies in Europe. And reports today that Europe is considering withholding intel from the United States for the first time in modern history. Joining me now is Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence. Director Gabbard, do you see this as actually a threat to the United States that Europe would not share intel with us? And what is your reaction to that report?
I'm laughing, Laura, because we've heard this story before, and generally it's coming from those who are either former leaders within our own intelligence community who are trying to politicize their titles and their positions to try to undermine President Trump's peace mission and agenda, and perhaps this is now coming from people within Europe, again, who would like to see endless war continue. The answer to your question is no. I can tell you just today alone, I met with 2 different senior intelligence leaders from Europe who came here to visit, to introduce themselves and to say, hey, we really look forward to continuing to work with you. I've met with other European leaders earlier this week who've come to Washington, D.C. for the same reason, really strengthening continuing to strengthen that relationship and letting us know how much they rely on us for our support, the intelligence that we share. President Trump is the peace president, and he is putting the interests of the American people and our taxpayers first and foremost. This is something that he campaigned on, that he promised the American people that he would deliver. And so when you look at the decisions that he's made over the last 45 days that he's been in office, he has been very consistent and very focused on keeping those promises and delivering very real and historically quick results.
Well, one of your
On this Thursday night, the U.S. president changes his mind. His tariff reprieve, what it means, and how long it will last.
Just a modification, short term.
And what are retailers up against as they try to replace American products? Russia's ominous warning what could happen if European and Canadian peacekeepers are deployed to Ukraine. Winter warfare, the Canadians training for battle in bone-chilling weather. And size matters. The man who reeled in $100,000 at an ice fishing derby.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening.
On France 24.
Good morning, I'm Oliver Ferry, and this is Daybreak. U.S. President Donald Trump suspends most tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada until early April, following a conversation with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. Meanwhile, Trump also signs an executive order establishing a strategic federal Bitcoin reserve ahead of a meeting with cryptocurrency industry figures on Friday. The European Union signs off on an agreement to beef up defence spending to €800 billion, the latest move towards strategic independence following Washington's indication it is prepared to disengage from the continent. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen hailed the move as ensuring peace through strength. More than 70 people are killed in clashes between Syrian security forces and fighters loyal to deposed President Bashar al-Assad. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says the pro-Assad fighters attacked government forces in the coastal Latakia province, a former bastion of support for Assad, who fled for Russia 3 months ago.
It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10. Our top story. A showdown in Saudi. US and Ukrainian negotiating teams prepare for peace talks next week, as Donald Trump says both Kyiv and Moscow are ready to deal.
Ukraine wants to make a deal because I don't think they have a choice. I also think that Russia wants to make a deal because in a different way that only I know. They have no choice either.
The UK Defence Secretary meets his counterpart in Washington as the Russian ambassador to the UK gives Sky News this assessment of the UK's role.
Do you think the UK is helping or jeopardizing the current path to peace?
At the moment, the UK is at the head of those who are resisting quick peace.
I am with you. The audio message from Pope Francis, recorded in hospital, the first heard from him since his health crisis began. Carl Clifford is found guilty of the rape of his ex-girlfriend on the day he killed her sister, and her mother. Thus, the Chancellor Rachel Reeves tells Sky News that a crackdown on welfare is coming because the current system is letting down taxpayers. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30 right through to midnight. Good evening.
This is Asia Now.
It's 2 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 11:30 in New Delhi, and 1 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Grace Shin, and at this hour, a South Korean court has canceled the arrest warrant of impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol. This does pave the way for his release, but prosecutors can file an appeal. South Korean authorities report an increase in the number of people injured in yesterday's fighter jet misfire. and China staking its claim as a diplomatic leader vowing to provide certainty to an uncertain world. Foreign Minister Wang Yi says Beijing will not be intimidated by provocations and maintained that dialogue was the best path to resolving ongoing wars.
ABC, home of the election.
Today, wind and rain intensifies as waves pound the coast as tropical cyclone Alfred edges closer to southeast Queensland.
We're particularly concerned about the flood risk, and that risk extends beyond the cyclone crossing.
More than 80,000 customers without power and communities in northern New South Wales told to evacuate. Also ahead, Avalon Airport facing questions over the security breach of a teenager armed with a shotgun. And WA's political leaders make their final pitches to voters ahead of tomorrow's state election. Hello, welcome to ABC News. I'm Lorna Dunkley. Severe weather is worsening as tropical cyclone Alfred moves slowly towards some of Australia's.
Good evening, I'm Katie Bowen with your latest headlines from the GB Newsroom. Volodymyr Zelensky has said that his team will meet with US officials in Saudi Arabia next week for talks. President Trump has also said he will travel to the country over the next month or so, saying Ukraine wants a deal. The Ukrainian president posted on X and said that he would meet the Saudi Crown Prince on Monday and that his team would stay on for talks with US partners. He wrote that, quote, Ukraine is most interested in peace. As we told President Trump, Ukraine is working and will continue to work constructively for a swift and reliable peace. That comes as GB News understands that 20 countries are in talks about joining a coalition of the willing to keep the peace in Ukraine. It was announced earlier today that the UK government has signed a £30 million deal to provide Ukraine's armed forces with more advanced attack drones to tackle Russian aggression in the Black Sea. Sir Keir Starmer said the UK will play a leading part in terms of defence and security. Well, that comes as Defence Secretary John Healey has met with his US counterpart Pete Hegseth a short time ago. Earlier on, the White House said that they had made no decision at this time on the legal status for Ukrainians in the US. The Trump administration confirmed that they had stopped intelligence sharing with Ukraine last night. A brief breaking update this evening. Pope Francis has sent his first audio message since being hospitalised for double pneumonia nearly 3 weeks ago. Speaking in Spanish for the message, the Pope expressed his thanks from the bottom of my heart to well-wishers around the world who have offered their support. The brief two-line message was played during a nightly prayer service for the Pope in St. Peter's Square at the Vatican. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your prayers for my health from the square. I am with you from here. May God bless you and the Virgin protect you. Thank you. And just briefly back to the US, President Donald Trump announced a short while ago this evening that Mexican and Canadian goods will be exempted from the 25% tariffs that he imposed earlier this week. That exemption will last for a month, and the president said steel and aluminium tariffs will not be modified. We'll bring you more on that story as we get it. Those are the latest GB News headlines. More from me in an hour.
Africa News. The news.
The United Nations is calling for accountability in the Central African Republic after it uncovered a pattern of grave human rights violations committed recently by armed groups. The Human Rights Office and the UN mission in the country, MINUSCA, say this is fundamental to ensuring such violations never happen again.
Nous exhortons les autorités centrafricaines.
We urge the Central African authorities to continue their investigations into the attacks that happened.
As Pope Francis remains hospitalized in Rome, thousands of faithful from around the world have been gathering at St. Peter's Basilica and by the hospital to pray the rosary for him. Since February 24th, the cardinals of Roman Curia have been leading the faithful every evening. at St. Peter's Square. The Rosary Prayer is one of the most beautiful prayers in the world, but also one of the simplest prayers in the world. And two great saints were, we could say, the inventors of the Rosemary. The first is Saint Dominic and the second is Saint Francis, who loved Mary.
Guinness World Records has officially recognized a 108-year-old Japanese woman as the world's oldest professional barber. Shitsui Hakoishi, who turns 109 this year, says she'll retire when she turns 110. After earning her license in Tokyo in 1936, she opened a shop with her husband, but was evacuated to her hometown of Nakagawa after it was destroyed in an air raid. He was conscripted, and when he didn't return from the war, she set up a small shop at her home while raising her two children. As neighbors and regular customers celebrated her achievement, Hakoishi attributed her longevity to her good genes and her daily exercise regime, which she started when she was 70. In 2021, she was a torchbearer in the Tokyo Olympics torch relay. It's like stepping into another world. This lush oasis of biodiversity in the Moroccan town of Bouknadel is home to more than 500 species, bringing together tropical and subtropical plants from Asia, South America and Africa. No surprise then that the exotic gardens are one of its main tourist attractions. Its 4.5 hectares are divided into different spaces representing various ecosystems, with each plant having specific needs for water, light and temperature. And some require special care to survive in a climate that's not their own. Plants.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Have a good life. Bye-bye.